On this next example, we need to solve for x. So just like we did with equations when we had fractions, we can use the idea of fraction busters. So on this, I want to get rid of this 2 down here. I'm going to multiply both sides of the inequality by 2. So I'll have negative 2x is greater than, the 2's cancel, and I'm left with x minus 7. Now remember, if you do use fraction busters and you multiply by a negative value, don't forget you do have to flip the inequality. Next, I'm going to get the x's on one side, and I'm going to get them on the left side. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So I end up with negative 3x is greater than negative 7. Now I was subtracting an x, I wasn't multiplying or dividing, so I don't have to worry about flipping the inequality. Next thing I want to do is get the x by itself, so I'm going to divide by negative 3 to undo the multiplying. And since I'm dividing by a negative, I have to remember to flip the inequality. So we'll get x is less than, negative divided by a negative is positive. So we get x is less than 7/3. On the number line, 7/3 is 2 1/3, so it is between 2 and 3. But I'm just going to actually label the 7/3. We do not include 7/3 since it's just less than, so open circle. And since we're going to the left, since we want the less than values, we go this way, and here's our graph. Set builder notation, the set of all x such that x is less than 7/3. And for interval notation, remember this side of the number line is negative infinity if you continue to go forever, and we do left to right. So negative infinity is on the left side, 7/3 is on the right side, and I am not including the 7/3 because it was an open circle, just less than, so it's a parenthesis on that side. When you're doing your homework, you do not have to do both methods of writing your answer, but I would recommend that on some problems you do the set builder notation, and on some problems try the interval notation. Now we're going to take a sentence, a number sentence, and change it into an inequality. We're going to write an inequality for this. So we have 3 less than twice a number is at most 5. You're going to need to think about what at most means. If I say I have at most $5, that means I could have $5, or I could have less. The most I have is $5. So when you see at most, that's actually less than or equal to. And that might be a little backwards from what you think, because usually we think most, we think greater than. But when we're talking about at most, if you stop and think about what that means, at most 5 means I could have less, but that's the most I could have. So we're going to use this symbol. I'm going to let n represent the number. This is defining the variable. So 3 less than twice a number. Well, less than, remember, is subtraction, but you got to flip it around. Twice a number, multiplying by 2. So I have twice a number. 3 less than twice a number is at most, remember we said that was less than or equal to 5. So here would be my inequality that would represent this problem. So now if we solve that, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So we have 2n less than or equal to 8. Divide both sides by 2. And we get n less than or equal to 4. Our number line. And I'll just do interval notation on here. It's going from negative infinity to 4. And it includes the 4, which remember we use a bracket if it includes the 4. For our last example, we have a word problem, and we're going to model this situation with an inequality, and then we're going to solve the problem. Jessica has at most $40 to spend at a convenience store. So again, we have at most. She's got at most $40, which means she could spend $40 or she could spend less. So already we know that we're going to be dealing with less than or equal to. She buys a bag of potato chips and a can of soda for $2.10. If gasoline costs $3.79 per gallon, how many gallons can Jessica buy for her car to the nearest tenth of a gallon? So I'm going to define a variable, and since we're talking about the gas, the gallons of gas, I'm going to let G represent gallons of gas. Well, we're told that the gasoline costs $3.79 per gallon. So if you think about that, if she buys 1 gallon of gas, it costs $3.79. 2 gallons of gas would cost 2 times $3.79. 3 gallons of gas would cost 3 times $3.79. So G gallons of gas would cost G times $3.79, or we would write 3.79 G. So this is how much it would cost for G gallons of gas. Plus, don't forget her potato chips and her soda. So we have $2.10, and she has at most $40. So here is our inequality that represents this situation. So to solve that, we're going to subtract 210 from both sides. So we get 3.79 G less than or equal to, and remember here you are going to have to do a little borrowing. We're going to have 90 cents, and we'll only have $37.90 when you do the borrowing on that. So on the next step, we're going to divide each side by 3.79. Wow, I hadn't realized this. I actually made these numbers up when I was writing this problem, and very unlikely that I would come up with this. So remember the shortcut way I told you to divide by a decimal? You can move the decimal point over so you no longer have a decimal in the denominator. Move it over 2 places here. And this problem's actually easy to do in your head because the numbers work out so nicely. So we end up with she can buy at most 10 gallons of gas.